I'm Jon Beer and we're here in Cornwall, New York. I run a small design build contracting business in the Hudson Valley. We're about an hour north of New York City. We're 4 guys in the field, including myself. We do mainly residential work. The majority of that work is renovation, remodels, and additions. Because we are design build, a lot of the design process is handled in-house by myself. Our hope with this project is to take this house that was built in 1956, which is rather small, a little bit dark, and transform it into a large space for our future family. All in all, I think at the end we're going to be somewhere around 2,100 square feet. I think a generous size for 4 people. We're going to be adding on in total about 800 square feet through 2 additions. One is behind me, which is a new second story. That second story has 2 offices, one for myself and my fiance, and a master bedroom and master bathroom for us upstairs. This project is a little different from what we normally do, mainly in its scale. To be totally honest, I've never done a full ground-up construction, and to date, this is our largest addition that I've performed with this current crew. For us, this kind of mirrors what we're seeing among our clients, which is a lot of people are buying existing housing stock. Since the pandemic, we're seeing an increase in people wanting to expand their space. They're finding that there often isn't enough separation in the interior. People want to have more flexible work opportunities. They want to be at home. We have done more renovation and remodeling than we have done total new construction. As a result of that, we've become a little bit specialized in it. We're dealing with some of the same kind of issues of tying new structures and old structures together and trying to give people a more cohesive space with what they have. I also think that in terms of kind of green impact, working with existing housing stock and turning that and transforming that into more usable spaces for people's current needs, is a little bit less wasteful than starting ground up when someone needs a new house. In the last 3 weeks, we ripped the roof off on the right-hand side there, and we built a new floor system. It's an I-joist construction, 16 on center, and started to build a new second story from there. Prior to this project, my company has only done 1 roof-off addition. It's for repeat clients of ours. I was really glad to have that in the schedule before we started working here so that I could have a sense of all that's involved in physically taking off the roof, evaluating the structure, even having a sense of how long will it take us to cut the roof off? What's the best way to do that? Is it a 2-person team? Is it a 3-person team? Where do we want the dumpster? Where do we start? There's a lot of logistical things that go into building that having experience with is always helpful. So having recently completed that roof-off addition, I felt like the whole team was ready to kind of wrap their heads around, okay, we're going to take this thing off. It's not the best time of year to do it, but we have to get through taking it off and putting it back on in a pretty short amount of time. So for us, that experience was key. So we have gotten kind of through the phase of the project that was most scary to me, which is building the second story. I didn't know what we were going to find as far as structure and literally connecting the new wood framing to the old wood framing. I wasn't sure how the veneer brick would impact that. Because it's only a single width and it's not structural, we're not allowed to bear on it directly. So that was a challenge that I wasn't sure how we were going to tackle until we literally had the roof off. So there's always some added pressure there of like, you're totally open to the elements, and now you got to work towards flat, towards level, plumb, while trying to keep the elements out, while trying to stay on schedule and deal with getting longer lead time items, which in framing that means I-joists, LVLs, things that we've struggled to get in the past. Luckily, timing worked out. Once the roof was off and the new floor system was together, about a week had elapsed, and then from there we started building all our walls flat on the new deck. You can see we're using the zip system by Huber. It's a product that we've started to work with in the last couple of years. It allows us to get weather tight in a very short amount of time. Instead of using OSB and Tyvek, We're able to frame on the flat. We apply the zip sheathing there. We tape as many seams as we can, and then we stand our walls up and start connecting everything together. We have been very lucky with the weather here in New York, but for the most part, we were able to get the structure dried in about 3 weeks. Personally, the scariest part for me is like the roof work. I'm not a fan of heights, I'm gonna be honest about that, and being up there is not something I like to do. One thing I'm really excited about is the majority of the new frame structure is going to be clad in a charred Shusugibon Japanese style siding. It's a product we've used before. It's also made in a traditional way. There's a sense of craftsmanship and woodwork that comes through that product that's exciting. You know, we're doing a mix of window styles. They're all going to be casement in one variety or of another. So that'll be exciting to be putting in new windows. We do a lot of window restoration, and it can be difficult to air seal old windows. We're hoping to air seal this structure well, so that becomes a critical component for us. I personally have always loved ranch houses. There's something about that like low slung, long shape that's really interesting to me. One thing that I love and am excited about is the way that this new second story slots on top of the existing structure. I also love that we're taking something that was abandoned for 10 years that someone else may have looked past and are transforming that into a new home for myself. I'm also really excited to be having an opportunity to do a more comprehensive whole house design. Not only aesthetics, but to be able to have a hand in deciding what systems we use, what subcontractors we work with, what products we use. My hope is to, in the future, build affordable passive houses. And so this project has a twofold opportunity of becoming an aesthetic kind of playground for me to develop my vision, but to also gain a better understanding of how to build well, but build affordably, and see how we can balance those things out. There are a lot of things, to be honest, that are still up in the air as far as like interior fixtures go. But we do have a pretty good idea of how we want to do our kitchen. It's a space that's really important to us. I'm excited to work with some local cabinet shops to design and build our cabinets together, and to kind of make a space that we have on paper and that we've drawn over the last year. It's going to be exciting to bring that to life for us. It's a challenge that I think suits our team well. I'd like to think we're all natural problem solvers, whether that is in the initial design process with an architect or with a homeowner, but also as we actually get into the nitty-gritty of connecting old and new structure, connecting old and new spaces, and creating a kind of sense of cohesive feeling at the finish line for everything. Thanks for joining us here today at the Fine Homebuilding House for 2023. We'll see you here in Cornwall at the next one.